people complaining comes with the territory. You have to accept that people have a right to tell you. Like, for example, when we had a problem with the internet, when we had a problem, we know all these things. The fact that people complain is good. You know why? Because it means they care. They find this company theirs. And therefore, you have a real responsibility to respond. Yeah.
I'm trying to find out. So, I mean, you're being hit left, right, and center as a new CEO. How do you integrate yourself to the team? Or how is that done? Because I'm sure very many people didn't know you.
Didn't know me.
Yes, you're not. And then number two, you're coming after the legacy of Bob, who from a public figure was this super life persona. You get?
Yeah.
And of course, there's always going to be that comparison between you and him. How are you? And then there's COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how you first and foremost integrating yourself into this team as the head.
No, I think the one thing, and if I was asked by media that question a lot.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, and I said, I'm not trying to fit into any shoes, either Michael Joseph's or Bob, late Bob Collymore. I'm just a new CEO who is taking over as the third CEO of Safaricom. And I will be my own self. And I'll lead the organization using my kind of leadership philosophy. Each of them did a very different job.
Yeah.
So Michael was a startup CEO, really delivered huge success, including starting of M-PESA and actually the fabric of what Safaricom is. Bob took it to a new level. I was going to lead at a very different time. Yeah, so it is the worst thing you can do as a CEO is try and compare yourself with the past CEO. That you cannot live someone else's life. So it is always being yourself. And actually the team realizes you are yourself, they will follow. And then the second thing is that the crisis galvanizes the country and the company. And also then you elevate it to a higher purpose, which is we are supporting the country. We are giving connectivity. We are giving, in fact, we give a lot of free. We doubled bandwidth on the fiber side because people wanted home connectivity. We did the transactions. We did the healthcare one, all those elements. So the company actually rises and actually supports the country. So in a way, it allowed me to get into the mix quickly. And then remember, Michael was also involved. So it was easy to get the transition happening because he was a caretaker CEO in between the time when Bob passed away and when I came in.
Yes.
So and also you have to be careful because you are taking over from a CEO who was also past CEO. So you have to be a bit careful so that you are not two CEOs in the room. You get what I mean? So you have to be confident enough, but also humble enough to seek input. But also we had developed a very good relationship with Michael in between the time I interviewed and the time it took for me to eventually get into role. We had met many times. And then kind of temperament-wise, we realized we could cope. I could tell him anything and, Michael will tell you anything.
Yes.
So there's no issue. The issue was the team, because the team is always nervous with this new guy. I'm sure they had researched to death. And they had done all this. They had spoken to tens of Blue Aries people, but that was many years back. Do you remember? Because I left East Africa Breweries in 2011. Yeah, but probably they had spoken to people in Diageo and so on, West Africa and all that. Then you let people do their homework, but focus on actually saying how do you then enroll. But actually, the key is the crisis allowed the organization to focus on a higher purpose, which is actually emotionally a very good place to start from. Because if you are dealing with people at a rational level, it's much more difficult when it is on video. But when it is, we are supporting the country, we are expanding network, we are doing XYZ, we are meeting every day. So the intensity of communication, we used to send an employee survey every 5 weeks. and then he would come back. Are you enabled to work from home? Are you able to collaborate with others? Are we supporting customers in this time of need? Those are the only things, and underneath each of them would have questions. So the employees found that's the time we engaged them most. And we had some of the highest engagement as far as the business is concerned. Then in terms of the relationship building with my team, I had to take my time, eventually get personal one-on-ones outside of the office when the masks thing was allowed and so on and so forth. But it was not easy. Yeah? I remember interviewing with Jeff Koinange from my home because it was over the line.
Yeah.
And I still remember. I think one of the PR guys sent me an image which they came across of that interview. I think it was in April 2020, and
in the heart of it,
at the beginning, and I had just landed. And I still remember that the line, because people, I mean, even journalists were also learning how do we interview, because they were also, it was also remote interviewing, and previously they were used to having the person in front of them. So even the technology had not been set up to handle this. So they had to set equipment to my house and come and set up, and it was interesting. But I think in a way, a number of the roles that I had done helped me, prepared me to be calm enough. The fact that you have a large organization that is supporting the country was great, and the fact that you have a transition in CEO was also very good. But it took time. I had to be patient enough and actually learn from my past that you can't do everything in one go. And actually, the first quarter, our M-PESA revenue was down like 20% because we were giving free transaction. And I had to be comfortable with that, you know. And if I was a rookie CEO, which they would never have for Safaricom, I would have been in panic. But that is the year we had the highest number of innovations on the M-PESA side. Transacting till, we did a lot of, even I think Portugal came in that time. There's a lot of products that we put in front of the central bank to approve, because now we had a lot of time. Because people are not going to trade. Yeah. So what do? You innovate. Yeah. And that's the year also, I didn't forget the future. We got approval of our 2025 strategy, new strategy, in October of that year. And that's when we wanted to transition from a telco to a techco. And then had a lot of, there was a lot of strategic, that's also the year we now started looking at Ethiopia. And eventually the following year in 21, we got the license. So during this period of crisis, we did a lot of innovation, we got our strategy approved, and we made a decision to go into a new country.
What are some of the unique challenges that you hadn't faced before that you are facing? And I'm not talking about COVID.
Yeah.
I'm talking about more so from a leadership perspective or from a CEO perspective.
What I said to you, which is highly public organization, which is like, which is the best team now. The best team now is Liverpool. Yeah. I always say Safaricom is like Liverpool or the Man United in its heydays. Everyone is the manager. Every single person in this country is a manager of Safaricom. They tell you who to put on the pitch, who to substitute at what minute. You know,
they complain when
they complain when you do something. They complain when you don't. In a way, it always tells you that these guys care. But the reason for that is, I was not necessarily, I knew that was a dimension that I had to deal with because the company is owned by Kenyans. Yeah. So, being patient in the way you deal with Kenyans. I remember the first time we kept our shops open when everyone had closed their businesses. We had our first COVID case in one of our shops. I can't remember which one. I made the bold decision to announce it and said we are quarantining all the team. And eventually we reopened it after a few days. So the thing about listening to Kenyans was a big thing. The second is stakeholders. As I said, you're dealing with a highly involved shareholder who is government. But at the time, it was actually it was very good because we were supporting the country in dealing with the crisis, which was very good. Whether it's zero rating transactions, whether it's supporting the Ministry of Health in terms of COVID callers, whether it is accelerating rollout of networks so that people can have connectivity, all those things. So in a way, those dimensions were dealt with as part of, as I said, as part of the crisis. At a cynical level, by the way, I know this would surprise many people. In a way, that the fact that I was not available physically means I was not invited for any meetings. Means that I could focus on onboarding and actually understanding the business rather than, because I would assume if it was business as usual, I would have been in this and meeting who and meeting the other and all that stuff. So now I had to just really prioritize the people I could meet, the regulators, central bank, communication authority, the minister, those very critical stakeholders, the minister of health, all that stuff. So at least it channeled my energy in the most important and the most business critical area. But of course, those things now, they start to show up later, which is, you can't hide. I can't, previously I would come in from wherever it is in Amsterdam or Lagos. I would go and sit somewhere in a pub and just have, even if it's a glass of Coke or juice or even a Tusker, there no one recognizes you. Today, I can't do that. So you lose your privacy.
Yeah.
People, you have to realize that when you are a leader, there is something comes with managing leadership. And part of people complaining comes with the territory. You have to accept that people have a right to tell you. Like, for example, when we had a problem with the internet, when we had a problem, we know all these things. The fact that people complain is good. You know why? Because it means they care. They find this company theirs. And therefore, you have a real responsibility to respond. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you not get it right. And for me, it's always, and sometimes when you're a public figure, people sometimes don't know whether you are telling the truth or not telling the truth.
Previously, you've not been a public figure in the other roles. Oh, maybe the CEOs.
CEOs, like Nigeria was a public figure.
Yeah.
In Ghana was a public figure.
Okay.
Because those businesses are big.
They're huge, yes.
In Europe, no. In Europe, you are kind of just an ordinary person.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that the role is very big, but because it was a private business, but I was used to kind of publicity, but there's nothing that brings it close to Safaricom.
Okay, yeah. I've got to ask this question. It wouldn't be so. First and foremost, and I'm aware time is coming to an end.
Yeah,
but we've got to ask one or two hard questions.
Yes.
So the first one is, as a lead, before I go to the Ethiopia setup, because for me, I think that's huge, but I think the repercussions of that or the impact of that will be felt by Kenyans in a couple of years.
Many years, probably 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's such an amazing thing. But I want to wait on that.
Yeah.
As a leader, you come in, and one of the things about you is you come, or any leader who would take a role, is you're coming in with your own vision.
Yeah.
How do you manage the stakeholders? How do you manage the situation where people are used to this other vision that's been there, and you're coming with change?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So you're coming and saying where people have been going left, but you come in and you're like, I'm going right.
Yeah.
How do you handle those dynamics?
So,
Just for the second.
Yeah, the thing I think about when you think about organizations, there are phases in an organization, and there is always context for those phases. Like if you look at the past 25 years that Safaricom has been, the first 10 years was startup phase. So regardless of what your vision is as an individual, you're building a business from scratch, and you're continuing to grow it and continuing to deliver. And also you're setting the direction, including the philosophy of what it stands for. Like community is important, sustainability, purpose is important. So purpose has always been important in all our 25 years. So the second phase is this growth. New technologies come, 4G come in, acceleration in mobile penetration and all those things. You get what I mean? Connectivity becomes ubiquitous and all that stuff. And then you start going beyond connectivity. This phase comes in, new technology comes in. You now need to go to a new country. Your AI shows up and all these things. So actually the context is quite different. But there are some things that as you are interviewing for the role, or as you are actually getting the role from especially the board, you have to say, what is the mandate and the task here? Yeah. Every board, especially for a business of this size, would want that you steward this business to the future in a way that preserves its heritage but renews itself rather than becomes complacent. Because the problem with large businesses is they could become complacent. Customers could start saying, oh, you are stealing my data. All those things started to come, by the way, even just before I came. And actually you've done a lot of work in reducing data pricing, in all these things, improving experience. Because sometimes internally you can also get complacent. But you preserve the essence of what the company stands for, like purpose, like doing good, like connecting to society and all that. The COVID period affected our ability to be visible, isn't it? So therefore, like for example, we'll be rolling out a big program on education, which we are calling Citizens of the Future, where we'll be building between 50 and 100 schools every year for the next 5 years. So on the strategic side, though, the board will always help you because their job is also to take the company to the future. So we knew that sooner or later telecom will start slowing down. Voice will start slowing down. Mobile will continue growing, but voice will start growing. So you have to go beyond telecommunication. That's why we said we want to be a telco. Yeah. The second thing is people want solutions. You access the internet, but you want solutions, whether it is public sector or private sector. You want solutions. So you come up with solutions. So that's why we said we want to be a purpose-led technology company. So you're still building off the base, but building a future. And then for Ethiopia, you are creating a business that will power the growth of this business into the future. So there's some you are retaining some of the fabric, but you are creating your own imprint of the future that you want to see, but also engaging key stakeholders. Remember, there are Vodacom, Vodafone are involved. There is government, there is the external shareholders, the listed businesses, and then engage these guys. We have been engaging these guys through our investor forums and so on and so forth. So our communication, especially to the investor base, is very good. The understanding of our strategic direction is very good. It is to take the country and customers along in the journey that we are going. And the transition is never easy. Yeah. And generally the bigger boy is seen as a bully to the smaller one. What they don't sometimes what happens is that this is why I'm saying you always have to think about, are you a challenger or a leader? That sometimes people kind of if say M-PESA had an issue. I say we process about 150 million transactions per day on M-PESA. That takes care and actually takes an operation that's safe and secure, because you have to confirm each of those transactions every day. You get what I mean? So it is also continuing to tell the story in a way that takes customers along. And this is why this year is so important in terms of celebrating 25 years. But from a personal perspective, you have to to work with the punches that show up. Because like someone said, have you seen the internet? Have you seen? And I said, what? What have I seen? I worry when I know there's a very big problem that customers or our society want. But if there's just some fake stuff happening, I'm sure our PR guys or whoever sales guys are going to deal with that. Like and there's an AI version of me speaking last week that showed up.
But
it didn't make me not sleep, but it needs to be dealt with.
how?
So that's why you always that's why that physical fitness, sleep, those things of family and all those elements are so important, because you need peace of mind and state of mind that allows you to continue to operate and weather the storm. You know what we talked about? Grit, passion and perseverance.
Yeah.
That's why I love that book. But passion and perseverance is not enough. You need to take people along, and people include society and customers, because customers vote with their feet.
I promise 2 more questions, and then now I'll just let you do the parting shot. But it's important that I ask some questions that I know if I don't ask these questions, everyone's just going to look at me like,
Yeah.
what's up with you?
Yeah.
And one of them is the mandamano, the situation of, or the role that Safaricom played in that. And now it's come out that Safaricom did play a role in terms of providing whatever location to government. So in a situation like that, I mean, what do you have to say about that situation?
You know, there's a lot that is said in the public domain that is actually not accurate. Telecommunication organizations have assets like base stations that can tell approximately where a customer is within a radius of whatever it is. However, you cannot actually use telecommunication equipment to tell exactly where that customer is. Yeah, you could do it. You could do it after the event. You could actually say, if, for example, there was a court case, and you said, "Did this person call this person?" You could actually have what they call CDR, which is customer data records or whatever they are. But in terms of live, you know, people say, "Well, yeah, you gave data." If the security agencies relied on Safaricom, writing to Safaricom to get something, and then they now do something, they will never do anything.
So you're saying they can't be phone tracking? Am I hearing you saying that?
No. What I'm saying is that, you know, the information that we have on our network is so that you are able to complete the call. So it says, where is this person? It's within a certain radius based on the radio site that they are calling from. So therefore, you are able to complete the call. Now, security agencies, even before mobile phones, had their own ways of dealing with all these things. And that's why they arrest terrorists and all that stuff. A lot of people don't realize you don't need very much to know people's location. People leave so many aspects of their location turned on. I want stuff brought to my house. I am here having tea, and you know, all these sites you are going into and you are putting your location on. Here is what I do, etc., etc. I think telecom bear the brand. Telecommunication companies bear the brand, but the tools that securities agencies around the world, or anyone around the world that have, are so sophisticated. And actually there is so much footprint, especially the young people live on the internet. Look, I said to you when my whatever was announced, I had moved some of my footprint. Frankly, you do not need very much if you went to some of these AI tools and told them, tell me about Richard. We will be able to summarize where you go, what you do, and you don't need any number, telecommunication, anything. So all I'm trying to say is that I think there's a lot of misconception and the way that a lot of it has been reported. Of course, there's a law that says if the security agencies wanted information and went to the right authorities, they could come to operators like us and Airtel. You know, people talk about Safaricom. Again, the leader thing. They don't realize a third of the lines also belong to Airtel. Eh?
But you've got the 50 million. That's why.
No. But they also don't realize that people also have. You know, in the dual SIM world, people also have other lines. So, but because you are the leader, you have to show the way. And we operate a network that is safe, secure. We follow the law. And all I would say is that, there are so many misconceptions about what Safaricom does or doesn't do. Partly because potentially we are owned partly by government, partly because we are seen to work with government. But we will always, as a large organization, we'll always support the public sector in the same way we support the private sector if they are providing service to the public. Do you get what I mean? We support them in the context of providing service like healthcare or whatever it is, or accessible, because we have a lot of assets that we can use. So from a data privacy perspective, and we are always running a lot of communication, there's a lot of misconception about what data is used. But in these days, day and age of technology and digital footprint and so on and so forth, you don't need very much. Your email address is enough. In fact, I went for a meeting, a conference, as someone was saying, just need your email address. That's it. I don't need anything else.
There's a guy called Bright Gameli who's a bit of a genius when it comes to data security. What I'll say is I'm not too knowledgeable about these fields. And for me, this CTA is strongly about your life journey and hearing the different aspects. I'm glad at least you've mentioned that. You've talked a little bit about that. But on the more positive side, I want to speak about the longevity of Safaricom. And I think one of the best ways in which we should end this is through a celebration of the company and what it's done. Whether you like the company or not, the company has had an impact on this country. It's a global leader when it comes to mobile money that has been replicated in very many different African countries and even other countries across the world. Tell us a little bit about turning 25. What is it that this means to you?
Yeah, I think if the turning 25, it's about celebrating the impact that Safaricom, it's about celebrating customers and Kenyans who have been with Safaricom so that it turns 25. When we talk about 150 million transactions for M-PESA, those, you told me you did 10 transactions today. It is about impact that those transactions have on people's daily lives that we want to celebrate. But we want to celebrate Kenyans for allowing us to be a partner in their lives, because it is them who give us that opportunity. When you told me about, you asked me how did I feel when I was announced or when I was going to be announced. This is a brand that has had so much impact. So it's about celebrating that impact. And I usually, the way that I usually think about it is, if you shut Safaricom today for a week, the daily lives of individuals in the country will be affected in ways COVID is a good example, So we don't want to be celebrating Safaricom for what it has done. We want to be celebrating society for allowing us to be their partners during that period, because there are so many times when you have experimented. I remember, the days of queues people are saying, Safaricom is a congested network. There's a time we used to be smaller than Kencell. People are saying, Safaricom is whatever. But all those we have overcome because Kenyans have been very patient. And M-PESA came, they tried, how do you use M-PESA? Many people, our dealers did not believe that M-PESA could work. But Kenyans trusted. The trust piece is probably the most fundamental celebration aspect that we want to drive. Kenyans trusted. There's a Kenyan company that has put Kenya on the global map, that is in the daily lives of Kenyans. And we want to also reinforce that we listen to Kenyans and we are here to serve Kenyans, not to do anything that would affect in a negative way their lives. So all the perceptions about data, we protect data, because if we were handling that much data every day, then we must have an ability to protect that data. Yeah. So, but it is the impact stories that we want to celebrate, of the impact of the network in people's lives, the impact of M-PESA in people's lives, the impact of the reason why those 50 million customers are with us is because it adds value to their lives every day. And it is to say thank you, but also to promise in the future that this company will only get stronger. Because 25 years is we are only a Gen Z. So we've learned many things. And so Ethiopia will help for the corporate, and it's good that we are already 10 million customers. But
10 million?
Yeah, 10 million customers.
What's the market potential? What's the market size?
We in probably 6 years will be Ethiopia could be bigger than Kenya in customer numbers, not necessarily in profitability, but in customer numbers. But the most important is to recommit to Kenyans about to continue to serve customers in a digital era. Customers will want, and society wants, trusted brands like us, but we cannot take that trust for granted, and we cannot take Kenyans for granted. And for me, I've told my story, and it's about resilience, and it's about always renewing, and always doing more and improving, and incremental change that allows one to grow. So if we can have 5 to 10 Safaricoms, Kenya will be better off. So I know even for big teams, if I may use the analogy of football, when a team is not doing well, there's always kind of the fans bash it a bit. But eventually they come back to the stadium and then they watch their team and they love their team. And we believe that's what Safaricom is. And we don't take it for granted. As a CEO, certainly, I am not arrogant to take that for granted. But that's why we want to use this moment to really celebrate the special relationship and trust that has been there between Safaricom and Kenyans. And I'm very privileged to be able to lead a company of this nature and a global, what is called a pioneer. Because when you go to Harvard and all these INSEAD and all these big universities, the M-PESA story has been written and the Safaricom story has been written. And we want in 10 years, it continues to be written in a way that still preserves the essence of purpose, but continues to grow in leaps and bounds, including in Ethiopia and many more countries.
This is my final question. And I think it's also maybe an amazing part in short, because time is up. This story was not about Safaricom. The whole reason why I brought you here was about you.
Yes.
And it was about to find out your journey to Safaricom. And you're still in Safaricom, so it'd be premature for me to allow you to end this conversation.
Yeah.
Because you're still in and you're still doing stuff there. But despite the surprises, because you've told me about surprises.
Yes.
What would you like your legacy to be?
Yeah. I'm the first Kenyan to lead Safaricom. And, people say, well, how do you succeed Bob and late Bob and also Michael Joseph? For me, we are at the verge of seeing a complete transformation in the way we live our daily lives through the whole digital and the transformation we are seeing on the internet, on AI and so on, and which brings both good in terms of the enabling part of technology to live our lives better, but also evil, if you put it that way, in cyber, and actually everyone in everyone's lives, including the good and the bad guys. But so it is to use Safaricom to create solutions that allow people to unleash their potential in this digital era. but also enterprise, empower enterprise to feel that they can use technology in the most versatile way to actually drive their business. And even public sector, to make sure no one is left behind. Because one of the reasons why we are involved with the government and public sector is if healthcare, agriculture, education is not digitized, there are many parts of our population that are going to be left behind if you think about the future. So it's about continuing to leave the legacy of purpose, ensuring no one is left behind and is included, but fully leveraging the power of technology to improve lives, to grow business, but also to empower society. So for me, that is the legacy that I want to leave, and also to feel that young people can also use technology to empower themselves and to use their skills and sell their skills from here to the global stage. I went on a secondment. In the future, probably people don't need to go on secondments. You can work from here or you work from wherever it is, because the power of technology allows us to do that. But at the same time, we need to manage the downside, especially on AI. But it's in our gift to do that, and we need to shape the future. In the same way we brought M-PESA to life, we need to shape this face and ensure that we keep the society thriving. Because I think technology and what technology can do can help us deliver a thriving society. And it's probably the biggest unlock to jobs, employment, actually even how we live, the quality of living. Like AI will liberate us in terms of what we can do. In the future, you'll be able to prepare your speech in 2 minutes. And you won't need 5 hours of storytelling, because you'll just go and search on the chat GPT version 10, and then it will summarize but Peter's story.
You know where chat GPT is going to get that raw data from?
Yes.
This 5-hour
that
conversation.
Is true. That is actually true.
So I want to end this by firstly saying thank you so much.
Yes.
I am not... I'm aware of the sacrifice that you have made in extending the time even that you had given us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that, because you've honored the platform. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing your story candidly.
Yeah.
The motto on this platform is you truly never know people until you take the time to know people. I feel like my biases towards you because of not knowing you or what I've read on social media, or maybe it was the AI I saw. Whatever it is, I am glad that I now can say that I know you. You're a hard worker. You are diligent. You have experience. And I honestly speaking think you're the right man for the job. I think we need to give you a chance to actually do what it is that you're doing. But you'll still do it whether or not we're giving you the chance. But
yes.
But you have what it takes. It's also a very difficult job. It's not for anybody. It's not for everybody.
No, it's not for the faint-hearted.
It is definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
May God give you a lot of strength as you continue to do this. And actually, let me pray for you and we end. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your son, Peter Ndegwa, who's here, who has shared his life story. I thank you for the journey that he has walked with us. We've walked with you. I thank you for the journey of his life. I thank you for the responsibility that you've given him. Not an easy responsibility at all, but with you, all is possible. For his decisions touch and affect lives, not just in this country, but even in other countries. So thank you so much for him and for equipping him for what needs to be done. Continue to work with him, give him wisdom, give him strength as he walks his journey. In the mighty name we pray.
Amen.
What did Griffin say? What did Griffin, wait. What did Griffin say? I want you to say it at the end there, that motto, the charge.
Yeah.
That is our parting shot.
Yeah.
A big thank you to Aizo for who's been behind the camera, for Viv who's been in the room and ensured all is well, and also for our hosts for today. So look in the camera and just do that charge.
Yeah. So I will end by actually really quoting G.W. Griffin in his charge to anyone who left Starehe. I charge you never to forget the great things that you have received from this institution, and in time to come, according to your means, to do for others what you have, what has been done to you. May God bless everyone, and thank you for listening. It's been a fantastic interview. Thank you very much.
And cut.